Boy, is there quite the mess to look at today. Just as a brief prelude to the whole thing, I do want to apologize for this being relatively late. I decided to stay off a couple of days and see if anything, new would develop, and also I wanted to make sure I had as much research as possible, watching maybe 30 videos on the situation, so hopefully I'm well informed enough to give you guys a kind of overview of what's going on, and hopefully this video turns out alright. I do read every single comment, so feel free to leave some feedback or just what you think on the situation, and I do appreciate your guys' response to this. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump into the video. As a brief disclaimer, I want to make sure you guys know my stance on this. I don't want you guys to harass anyone involved in the situation. As far as I can tell, it's still developing. A lot of stuff is coming out. However much it looks like ImAllexx is guilty in this, or whoever else, don't harass them. Treat it like a civilized manner, because really harassment isn't going to get anything done. I appreciate if you guys ask questions to these people, but don't be sending death threats, because that doesn't help anything move forward. You get me? So if you guys haven't somehow heard of the ImAllexx controversy, this might not be the most informative video for you to watch. Think of this as a review to wrap things up before your final exam, except you actually care about the topic. My personal suggestion would be to watch this video amongst many more, and I'll link those down in the description, the ones that I think are very informative and also just make sense overall. Anyways, there are a lot of people involved in this. We have the obvious ones like Alex, but also other notable people, among them being Blues Dank, King Ani, Weast, Quite, and even Dolan Dark, who seems to have apologized to an extent, but I'll get to that later. Now, I found this especially interesting as one of the people I talked to for the Slazo situation mentioned that Che had relations to Alex's editor. For context, here's a snippet of that conversation. She wants sympathy from the Reddit YouTubers and has entirely trashed Michael in the process. She's currently dating a huge editor in the community. Yeah, I think it's the editor for ImAllexx or something, Wilney and all of those people. Note that this was back in late June, so no one else was talking about Alex and everyone was still relatively focused on Slazo's response and that whole situation, and this only brings further confirmation that, things are a bit more sinister in relation to ImAllexx's stance with Slazo. To begin, the current situation is becoming increasingly clear and confusing because it's so complicated, but clear nonetheless. You see, Alex does such a garbage job of damage control that he contradicts himself to no end, and people are calling him out for that. But exactly what damage is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So a video from Turkey Tom claimed that it looks like there was a lot of back planning to Che's attempt to take down Michael. There was a Discord group of which contained Hyojin, Pyrocynical's ex-girlfriend, Alex, and Quite. They were discussing how they could make sure no one would associate with Michael after they released this stuff. And best case scenario, they were all like Dolan Dark, who allegedly fell for the evidence Che had presented and went crazy spreading it around. However, I think that's more than unlikely. More likely what happened was that they had no good intentions to begin with. Take a look at Alex's 2-minute long response on Twitter. It's frankly garbage, but it does prove my point further. The summary was, although Che lied, I still think Michael is fully capable of doing redacted things because he admitted to being a bad boyfriend. Yeah, that's what he said, basically. Remember that he's saying this knowing that they had planned to do this, so I see two scenarios coming out of this. He doesn't want to admit that he's wrong in believing Che, or he knows that he's wrong and is still trying to take down Michael. While both scenarios are possible, I think the latter makes more sense. First off, he tries to make Michael look as bad as possible, saying things like Che was 14 at the time, but ignoring the fact that Michael was 16. No, he wasn't 20, no, he wasn't 30, he was 16, just 2 years older than Che. I've seen freshmen in high school dating seniors, like, I don't understand how that makes him look any worse, yet Alex tries to pull this stunt on him. And not only was Alex's response full of misdirection, he's also been known to do this stuff before. An example of this would be a tweet from John Progress. Since we're talking about ImAllexx making false accusations, let's not forget that last year he accused me of being a pedophile when I was under 18, simply because I said that he shouldn't be drinking if he was depressed, and then blocked me. Let's read what Alex returned. Everything was great. I didn't drink cause I'm an adult who can make choices for myself. Doesn't matter if you don't like me, mate. Don't like you, but I wouldn't publicly address your relations with an underage girl. Leave this morally high ground bollocks, it's clearly not working for you, and then proceeds to block him. From what I can tell, ImAllexx doesn't really care about the implications he's bringing to other people. Seriously, he's just throwing these accusations around, and in Slazo's case, he just made it even worse by doubling down, or for him, really tripling or quadrupling down at this point. Like, he's really not giving up on shoving that narrative that no one's taking. Honestly, I don't understand why he's still trying to push it. The gig is kind of up at this point, but he's still doing that. However, aside from this, ImAllexx has stayed eerily quiet about the situation. I also noticed that he hasn't uploaded, so maybe he's starting to consider that something's wrong. I'm pretty sure he knew everything was wrong, but maybe now he's considering how much of a consequence it's having. But at this point, he still hasn't replied, so I can't really say anything for him. Hopefully he has a good defense, but with what he's publicly said already, unlike Slazo, it's not going to help him at all. However, on the contrary, someone who isn't eerily silent about the situation is Hyojin. She's been making up a storm with all these tweets, and she's kind of stuck in this circle of lies that really doesn't get anywhere. For one, she claims that she was only trying to support a friend, which is almost understandable, but is completely blown out of the water once the support group was created. Within that, you can see that she really wanted to take down Michael, claiming things like she didn't want anyone to associate with him within upcoming events, likely VidCon, and she also claimed that she didn't want to ruin Slazo's career. So these are directly quoting her, so at this point I don't think anything she says is credible, because she's probably going to refute it in a future tweet or future message or whatever at this point. Now, that screenshot that I just showed you guys eventually climbed the ranks to Keemstar, and that's when ImAllexx finally replied with another tweet, quote, "As I said in that DM, I said I'd support the people who came forward as I believe the victims who had contacted us. I'm not trying to falsely accuse anyone of anything, just support my friends who are going through a hard time at the hands of another, as it seemed the right thing." Besides the obvious contradiction, notice how he said victims. I have one question about that. Where? Che hasn't spoken out since she made her twit longer, and no one else has come forward. Wait, no. There have been several people who have come forward. People who have directly interacted with Michael, including close friends. Remember how I read some DMs from the people who reached out to me in previous videos? Guess what? They all said he was innocent. And while one of them was kind of like, yeah, he definitely messed up, she didn't believe anything that Che said. Like, a lot of it was just taken straight out of context, and you guys are seeing what I'm saying here, right? The only people who have come forward besides Che and Slazo are other people who have interacted with him, and they've all said he's innocent. To add to the idea that ImAllexx knows exactly what he is doing, a leak by Nicholas DeOrio shows ImAllexx being very adamant on not releasing any of the calls that group was having. Seriously, he was threatening lawsuits, which I doubt would get anywhere, but nonetheless, he was threatening to sue anyone who released this stuff because, quote, he didn't consent to it. This is why I don't think ImAllexx is sorry for what he did at all, nor did he have any good intentions to begin with. It also seems that Che was the ammo for the cannon ImAllexx and co had crudely built beforehand. And this next part is speculation, but as much as they claim they didn't have any part in writing Che's initial twit longer, the leaked Discord conversations only go to disprove that. My guess is that Che maybe just wanted to vent, and Hyojin saw that as definite proof that Michael was an abuser, and voila, this situation was spawned. Soon Che is swept into it, and that's why she's been silent ever since. I don't think Che was initially wanting to do this. However, she was the one that released it, so I don't even know if what I said makes sense, but the idea is they saw an opportunity to take down Slazo for whatever reason, and Che was that opportunity, and they took it and ran with it. So I am in no way defending Che's actions, but I do think there might have been a lot of influence behind her actions, which directly goes against what all of them are saying they just wanted to support a friend. Moving on, another tweet from ImAllexx. "Look, you can keep hammering that betrayal line down all you want, but it makes no sense for me to go after Michael like that, especially as both people were friends. I hadn't seen the jokes till after the post was made. We read the DMs and came to the same conclusion." What? I don't even understand what he's talking about here. He first says that there was no reason to go after Michael like that, and then says he read the DMs and came to the same conclusions as the others. So he agreed Michael was an abuser, but didn't want to go after him? Or even better yet, he also claims that he didn't see the jokes till after the post was made. So did he see the DMs or not? Because the jokes are very clearly in the DMs. I'm not understanding this. Maybe he didn't perceive the jokes? But if that's the case, everyone else has caught on to it. Any sane person has caught on to it. and within the time he was planning to sabotage Michael, he should have been able to realize those were jokes. And once again, none of these people talked to Michael himself, only Che. That's the big thing here, they never planned to get the full story. That's what I'm getting at here. Here's a reply from Kavos. When Slazo came out and proved you wrong, you still claimed he was extremely forceful and said he needed to get help, when in reality Slazo was just a 16-year-old BF who was a bit controlling. So if you guys can sort of wrap your heads around what I'm getting at here, it seems like ImAllexx and his friends never planned to actually do it the fair way. They tried to claim that they're trying to support their friends, but everything they've done disproves that so far. And you guys saw me in the Slazo situation waiting for both sides. There are two sides to the situation now. They've come out and said stuff against this. And that's why I'm making this video being so brutal on them, because there's two sides now, and one side just really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now obviously what I've said so far is only some of the evidence against ImAllexx and his crew, but I wanted to recap what I thought were some of the most important points against him. Now for my conclusion. The situation was never just the Michael-Che interaction, obviously. It was a planned takedown that failed because it was built on lies. ImAllexx, Hyojin, Quite, Bluesdank, Kingane, and whoever the heck else was involved all took Che's story and just absolutely ran for it. While I don't know for sure why they did this, I do have a theory. They're all insane. Or some of them just saw ImAllexx and Hyojin believing it and cancel cultured the heck out. First off, ImAllexx was already known for doing this stuff as previously mentioned, and he broke his own rule he made during this James Charles situation where he said certain words of wisdom such as, we should wait for two sites, and whatever else. He just threw all that out the window. I don't see anyone who either was mentally sane or just didn't have any intentions of making a fair situation out of this doing that. The next insane person would be Hyojin. She has quite the history of lying, including trying to hide animal abuse, and she's threatening to do certain things. I'm not going to comment on the validity of her claim because I really don't want anyone going through with it. I do hope that she doesn't end up going through with what she's threatened. I think what she's done so far is just to get some sympathy points, but I do hope that someone is taking care of that. I'm not in a position to do that, but if she's truly this deranged, then she needs help, because from what's been said so far and what she said so far, I don't think she has a very good state of mind right now. Anyways, hopefully all of that made sense, though chances are what I've said doesn't completely do that. Feel free to leave a comment addressing anything that didn't make sense or asking for clarification. You can also message me on my social medias. I'm always open to talk about this stuff because, once again, I'm making a video on this, and I do kind of have to defend my points, or sometimes, you know, dismiss my points if I'm wrong with anything. So feel free to message me pretty much anywhere that I've provided, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. This is my first time getting involved in such a complicated drama, and I want to be able to make sure that I know my mistakes in order to future-proof myself a bit. And finally, I want to thank my viewers for voting this video into existence. Without it, I likely wouldn't have done nearly as much research as I had and just let the situation slide without being aware of these people and their actions. Seriously, you guys played a huge role in making this happen, so truly, thank you. I don't expect there being a part 2 to this video unless if I majorly messed up on everything, and expect regular content to resume after this. However, if ImAllexx is magically able to defend himself, then I will come out addressing exactly what he said, if I think it's true or not, and if I was wrong in this video. I really appreciate those of you guys who watched till the end. It does make sure that you understand what I'm saying, and I do appreciate that. With all that being said, stay safe on the internet, and hopefully the situation can finally calm down in the future, because honestly, this situation doesn't help anyone. With all that being said, I do appreciate you guys watching my video once again, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to check out the playlist I created for all the videos on the ImAllexx situation so you can inform yourselves, and let me know what you guys thought in the comments. See ya.